The final question on the topical issues. I presume, Minister Keogh, you're taking this question. You're taking this question, Deputy Minister. Now, this is in the name of Deputy James Lawless and the Garda Resource in the Kildare Division. Deputy Lawless, you have 4 minutes to make your case.
Thank you, Ceann Corda. Minister, the issue I raised today is of policing, particularly in my constituency of North Kildare, policing resources, in fact. This is an oft-aired issue in this House, but I believe my constituency to be more poorly served than others. In fact, the census figures and the record would bear that out. Kildare North has historically and currently has the worst policing figures in the entire state per head of population. This is an historical anomaly. It actually predates. We're all aware of the embargo and recruitment and recent difficulties. This is an historical anomaly that far predates even that. Currently, we have 1 member of Garda Force for every 751 residents of the county. Were we to, based on the 2006 census figures, were we to correct this, we would need to hire over 250 extra Gardaí immediately. Instead, we've got 25, 10% of what we actually need. This is not a title we want to retain of the worst policed county in the state. As I say, it is an historical one. I was going to talk through a couple of recent examples where this has been highlighted within the county and difficulties. As well as being the lowest number of Garda per capita, we're also the second lowest number of Garda stations in the state, in Kildare. I suppose this pattern began with the closure of Kill and Ballymore Eustace Garda stations in 2013 and 2014, along with 3 stations in West Wicklow which border Kildare, meaning that 5 stations in a row were closed as a belt of stations. The response at the time, under the then Justice Minister Alan Chatter, was that mobile Garda units would be deployed and Facebook clinics would be employed as an alternative measure for community policing. The station closed, there were no increased patrols, there were no Facebook clinics, and there was an increase in burglaries. And in actual fact, the lack of local knowledge, residents would say that they would ring the station, their new nearest station, where the Garda might ask for an address because he simply wasn't familiar with the area and there was no local knowledge. Moving to the other end of the constituency, on top of the county, to Celbridge. Celbridge Station, out of 5 Garda stations in the Leaksip Garda Division, Celbridge is said to be the busiest. However, it is still only a part-time station, open 3 hours a day, most days of the week, not at all on a Sunday. And in fact, a quote from the Integrated Services Report produced in conjunction with Kildare County Council, a state body not prone to exaggeration or hyperbole, and they said that despite a 12.5% national decrease in Garda numbers in the same period, namely 2008 to the present day, Celbridge Station saw a loss of 54% Garda numbers. So more than half its staff were actually slashed and cut. I had received an email in the last week from a local businessman who has been subject to 13 armed robberies on his premises. He says at this stage the staff are actually frightened to come into work. It's reached that level. Somebody is trying to do business, trying to make a living, trying to run a business in the town. I'm going to turn briefly to Maynooth, which is a university town. The Minister will be familiar, and I'm sure all members of the Chamber. There was an horrific attack on a young female student about a week ago. My own daughter is in fact attending first year in the same university. My heart goes out to the families involved of young Kim Owens and all belong to her, and I wish them well and I really wish her recovery. It's a horrific thing to have happened. It can be said that additional Garda resources may not have prevented such an act of barbarism. However, the fact remains that Maynooth is a university town. Its population doubles from 12,000 to an extra 12,000 in term time to 24,000 plus, yet there are no additional Garda resources. In fact, there isn't even a full-time Garda station in the town. My colleague Casanisha Carroll highlighted this in the Irish Independent a couple of days ago. It's the only university town in Ireland without a full-time Garda station. Carbery, North West Kildare, again, we saw last night Paul Williams did an expose on TV3. Certain well-known criminal characters are resident in the North West Kildare area. Again, Carbery station has been decimated. The stations across North Kildare have been slashed. The Garda numbers have been slashed. It's at an historical low. It is the worst in the country. It's not good enough, Minister, and we need to direct intervention to increase the resources available to address this anomaly. There are huge urban and rural populations within the county, very close to the motorway network. It's been hit repeatedly by opportunist burglaries, by armed robbers, by horrific acts of sporadic violence like the incident in Maynooth, and I call upon the Minister to intervene and address the situation immediately.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank the Deputy for raising this important issue. First of all, I'd like to apologise for Minister Taunish and Minister Fitzgerald, who was unable to be with me here this evening to answer you in person. The Government is committed to ensuring a strong and visible police presence throughout the country in order to maintain and strengthen community engagement, provide reassurance to citizens and deter crime. To make this a reality for all, the Government has in place a plan to achieve an overall Garda workforce of 21,000 personnel by 2021, comprising of 15,000 Garda members, 2,000 reserve members and 4,000 civilians. In 2017, funding has been provided for the recruitment of 800 Garda recruits and up to 500 civilians to support the wide-ranging reform plan in Garda Síochána. 300 appointments will also be made to the Garda Reserve. As the Deputy will appreciate, the Garda Commissioner is responsible for the distribution of resources, including personnel among the various Garda divisions, and the Taoiseach has no direct role in this matter. The Taoiseach is informed by the Garda Commissioner that, in regard to the deployment of Garda personnel, a distribution model is used which takes into account all relevant factors, including population, crime trends and the policing needs of each individual Garda division, including the Kildare division, with a view of providing an effective and responsive police service. I am informed as of the 31st of October 2016, the latest date for which figures are readily available, there were 307 members of Garda Síochána assigned to a Kildare division. Further to the Kildare division is supported by 22 members of the Garda Reserve and 29 civilian staff. When appropriate, the work of local Garda is supported by a number of Garda national units, such as the National Bureau of Criminal Investigation, the Garda National Economic and Crime Bureau, and the Garda National Drugs and Organised Crime Bureau. I am advised that local Garda management in Kildare also has implemented additional policing measures in response to recent incidents in the division, including additional Garda foot patrols, checkpoints and patrols by the Regional Support Unit. The Taoiseach recently met a group of local public representatives from Kildare and listened carefully to their concerns in relation to crime and policing. The Minister is, of course, happy to highlight the particular matters of local concern for attention of Garda authorities. Taking into account of projected retirements, reaching a strength of 15,000 will require some 3,200 new Gardaí members to be recruited on a phased basis over the next 4 years, in addition to 1,200 that will have been recruited by the end of this year, since the reopening of the Garda College in Templemore in September 2014. Since the reopening of the Garda College, 679 recruits have attested to as members of Garda Síochána, of whom 35 have been assigned to the Kildare division. The Government's plan for an overall Garda workforce of 21,000 is complemented by substantial investment in resources across the board for Garda Síochána. The Deputy will be aware of significant resources that have been made available to Garda Síochána under the Government's capital plan for 2016-2021. In particular, some £205 million is in additional funding for Garda ICT, and £46 million for new Garda vehicles have been allocated over the lifetime of the plan. This investment will facilitate the provision of more effective policing services, and the Taoiseach expects that the Kildare division, like all other Garda divisions, will benefit from these new resources becoming available. I would like to touch on specifically the incident that took place in Maynooth on the 20th of November, which the Deputy raised. In recent days, Gardaí have renewed their appeal for information in relation to the very serious assault of a university student in Maynooth. They are appealing for witnesses and anyone with information, particularly those who were in the vicinity of Maynooth between 7:30 p.m. and 9:15 p.m. on Sunday, the 20th of November 2016. Witnesses are asked to contact the incident room in Leith Garda Station on 01 666 7800, the Garda confidential telephone line of 1800 666 111, or any Garda station. And the Taoiseach does recognise that this was a very serious incident, and if anyone out there have any information on this incident, that they will come forward.
You've exceeded by a minute. Deputy, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I appreciate you stepped into the breach. Thank you for that today. I suppose, with respect, the answer could have been given to any question about policing in the country. My question is specifically about my constituency, and indeed my county, North Kildare and County Kildare, which is the worst served in the entire country per head of capita. It's not me saying this, it's the Joint Policing Committee, it's Kildare County Council, it's the integrated service providers, and it's every public representative in the county, and indeed in both North and South constituencies. In fact, in recent years, the ratio has worsened. In 2015, the figure suggested a ratio of 1 Garda for every 697 members of the population in County Kildare. In 2016, despite the Minister's suggestion of extra resources being deployed, the ratio is actually worse. It's now 1 to 751. So for every 751 residents of the county, there's 1 Garda. That is the worst in the entire state. And as I say, in terms of Garda stations, we're a little better. There were, I think, the 307 there are deployed to County Kildare, as the Minister has outlined. The census would suggest we need 513. And in fact, if we include reservists and community and other types of Garda, we're actually over 250 short. We're actually almost 270 short of what we need. We got 25, 10% of what we need. The Minister has suggested it's an operational matter for the Garda Commissioner. Does the Minister consider the Commissioner is performing satisfactorily in a situation where one county has less than 10% of its required allocation, when it has such a stark difference in ratios, when it's at the bottom of the league table, when it actually is 250 less Garda than are actually needed? The increase that has been given is in line with the population in terms of its 4.7% increase for 4.7% of the country's population. The imbalance is historical. That's the point we need to drive home. There's an historical imbalance. This goes back for almost decades. And in actual fact, perhaps Kildare was in the pale. Maybe they were considered to be better behaved than some others, didn't require the same policing. But in actual fact, that's historical anomalies have to be addressed. So I asked the Minister to address it as a matter of urgency. This is an issue. We highlighted one particular horrific incident. There are numerous instances. There's the shopkeeper, the staff are afraid to go to work. There's the opportunist crime. There are the burglars coming down the motorways. People are being hit every day of the week. People are afraid, be they students in the university town, be they business keepers, be they staff coming to work. And the Minister has to intervene to address this. It's a shocking anomaly, worse than the entire state.
Okay.
And I ask the Minister to take it on board.
Minister, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Deputy. And as I did outline to you, that the Garda Commissioner is responsible for Garda deployments where and the locations that she sees fit, and that is done in accordance with population trends and crime figures. But I will personally bring your concerns to the Taoiseach and Minister for Justice. But what I would encourage you to do is that you either send a copy or transcript to the Garda Commissioner, or that you write personally to the Garda Commissioner with your concerns, because and I understand that the Taoiseach will be in contact with the Commissioner, with the Garda authorities to bring your concerns also. But I really do, I would encourage you to write to the Garda Commissioner and say that you raise this issue within the Dáil, and that the reply you got that the Garda Commissioner is responsible for where she sees fit to place Gardaí in whatever locations that need the resources most. But Deputy will be aware that in the most recent CSO figures for Q2 of 2016, that there were decreases in many crime categories, including 26% reduction in burglaries. And I do understand your fears when you say that there is a huge amount of people coming down the motorways, and the same happening in my own constituency in County Wexford. That is, it's not the local gangs, but it's gangs from normally from the Greater Dublin area that are causing most of the issues of burglary and other issues. So I would encourage you to write to the Garda Commissioner, and of course I will bring your concerns directly to the Taoiseach and Minister for Justice as well.
That concludes topical questions. We now move